I hope you're all well. I hope you're all doing okay. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about fitness because the majority of questions when I did my Q&A video were like, how did you get fit? Why did you get fit? What motivates you? All that sort of stuff. And just as a bit of context, my Instagram account originally started out as Annie K Fit. It was basically when I started running just before lockdown, and I wanted to kind of document my own personal experience of getting fit and learning how to run properly because I hadn't done it. So yeah, so in today's video I'm going to kind of get into why I decided to get fit, how I did it, kind of my errors that I made, because believe me, I made about 1,000 errors for every correct step I made in the right direction, and kind of what I would suggest to people who are looking to incorporate more movement into their lives, eat better, all that sort of fun stuff. So let's get into it. I'm gonna dive straight in with the heavy stuff. I have had 6 hip surgeries. I've been under anesthesia 4 times, but that's because I had 2 screw removals and an arthroscopy in one time. I think I was under for nearly 5 hours. So yeah, basically I was born with hip dysplasia, which means that your hip sockets, instead of being, as my hip surgeon would put it, like a sombrero, imagine it's like a bald man's head. And instead of it being like a sombrero, I was born with like, not even a fez, like a yarmulke, that sort of like shape and size coverage over my femur. And in his terms, I had to have these operations because basically like no surface area, pressure, I dislocated my hip, not fun times. I had tons of soft tissue damage, and these operations gave me a bowler hat. Not ideal, but good enough. And it kind of puts off my hip operations, sorry, not operations, replacements, not even just operations, kind of puts off me having to have replacements because I need them replaced. My hips aren't perfect. And we didn't know I had this until I was like 15, 16. Most kids as well get spotted at birth. I wasn't. And it was just kind of, I had a lot of surgeries basically from the ages of 16 to 19, which are kind of the, nowadays most kids like find like the gym and they start doing more sport and they find what sport they're interested in. I was in and out of hospital and on crutches and in a lot of pain. So yeah, that was fun. And then in terms of me just as a kid, I'd say I was pretty sporty. I mean, I grew up doing some middle class sports. I grew up skiing, horse riding, playing lacrosse. I can hear like the St. Trinian's theme tune in my head. But I wouldn't say I was not active, but I wasn't, you know, like the star athlete. I mean, I've not got great hand-eye coordination. If there are ball sports, that's not me. I'm not a ball sport kind of gal. Lacrosse I could just about do. But netball, no, I'd punch the ball away from my face. I'm not a netballer, not a football girl. I'll watch rugby, but I don't enjoy playing ball sports, and I feel like that's fair, that's allowed, but growing up at school you do a lot of them, so I was never one of the sporty kids, you know? So I used to feel put down a lot, like quite a lot at school. Again, I went to an all-girls school for year 7 to year 11, so you know, 11 years old to 16 years old, all girls environment that's quite competitive. If you're not good at sport in that sort of environment, it's very disheartening, I guess. Because I mean, we've all had those sports days when someone's like, oh, you've got to run the 1500 meters, and it's like, oh great, oh good. And I mean, I didn't really want to run the 1500 meters for a teacher who called me the other Knowles. I remember this. Miss Westcott said to me once, bear in mind, I was in her 18 for lacrosse in year 7 until I had to drop out because of knee problems that came from my hips. I mean, you can see where all of this comes from. And she looked at me and she just looked at me and was like, not Meg. And I was like, cool, great, thanks, amazing. Great to be valued, great to be appreciated. I love that. I love that for me. School sports though did kind of ruin my relationship with being fit and healthy, because a lot of the girls who were really active and on all the teams, I mean, there are all those TikToks online which is like, my netball girls, come here, everyone else go do this. We all have been in that situation. I was just one of the kids that was never a top academic because I had undiagnosed ADHD. I was never super sporty because I had an undiagnosed hip problem. I'm not musical, but that's because I have no musical talent. And it's just kind of, I just never felt good enough at school. And it's like, if you're more active, you're more likely to be on the leaner side. And I genuinely thought I was overweight from the ages of like 11 to 16. I genuinely thought that I was fat, and I hate that word, but I thought that's what I called myself in my head. I'll find some photos, but I genuinely thought that my developing, growing, beautiful little body wasn't good enough because I wasn't good at sports. And I think that kind of mentality really damages people, because you kind of see when teachers make you run, and if you stop running and they make you keep running, or you're seen as less than because you're not as fit, it really makes people think like, oh, I just hate sport. It puts that whole stamp of I hate exercise on your worldview, and it's so damaging. I mean, I'm not at school now, so it could be better, I could be wrong, but personally, that's what I experienced, and it was never ideal. That's kind of my broad background. I can get into any of those things in more depth if you want me to, but that's kind of the building block of where I'm about to go next. In my third year of uni, so bear in mind at this point I'd had all my operations, I was finally feeling like I wasn't on crutches, I didn't have any pain when I was walking. I mean, I've got nerve damage, but that's another thing. But I was like, you know what? Third year is going to be my year. I've finally been put on ADHD medication. I finally felt like I had my life together. And I knew that as part of my diagnosis and being put on medication for ADHD, I had to self-medicate first. I had to find strategies of coping. And I'd kind of always used exercise as a coping mechanism. Like, I love going for big walks, but it was only in my third year of university where I was like, no, it's like, I have to do it. Because I find that if I work out in the morning, I can put off taking my medication for a bit longer, and that gives me more leeway at the end of the day. And I just made it my routine. That can be tip number one, is just make it a routine. Don't make it oh, but I want to, oh, but I don't want to. No, every single day of my third year of university, I was at that gym when it opened at 6:30. I would work out. I think I was doing like one of the early versions of Shreddy. And I was also doing that coupled with Couch to 5K. And the reason I was doing that is because I wanted to see if I could run. And Couch to 5K is perfect for anyone. I mean, I'm redoing it right now. For anyone who wants to get into running and doesn't know where to start. It's the easiest, follow along. You don't even notice how good you're getting until you stop running, and then your recovery time's like 3 seconds. One of the best things I ever did, and that can be tip number 2. So tip number 1, make it a routine. Don't make it something that you can and ah about. Change comes from habits, and you've got to make it a habit to go to the gym. Number 2, that was my tummy. Number 2, follow a plan. Make a plan for yourself and follow it, because nobody goes into a wood and comes out the other side, you know, perfectly unscathed and following the best routes unless they have a map and they follow the plan. You follow a plan to get to where you want to go, you know? So if you don't have that plan, you could be in that forest for hours, days, years, and you might come out the other side, but you won't be where you wanted to be. You'll be bedraggled, you'll have leaves in your hair, bird poo on your forehead. Follow a plan, stick to your path. It takes time, but you'll get there. So that's number 3, patience. Be patient, okay? Good, consistent, lasting change when it comes to fitness, because most people start their fitness journey for aesthetic reasons. Understandably, huge societal pressures to look great. I'm a model for a living, I know, I get this. But just know that it takes time. You could do those 1,200, 1,200, am I American now? Those 1,200 calorie diets. You could. That's my great advice, is do not do that. It is unsustainable, it's not fun, you'll miss foods, you'll binge. It's not one of those diets that will ever, for me, be ideal to anyone. That can be a mistake. That's what I did as well. I did actually do that. I downloaded MyFitnessPal. I tried to do 12,000 calories a day. I got so hungry. I hit the end of the day and I would just be like, where's the chocolate? Where is it? And more often than not, I wouldn't have it. And that was one of my other tips, is if you want to eat clean, Buy clean food and keep it in your house. Make it accessible. If I went in my fridge right now, I've pre-cut, it took me like, what, 5 minutes? I've pre-cut all my courgette for the week, I've forgotten the name for it, cauliflower, my broccoli. They're all in Tupperware and they're pre-cut so I can just whip them out, cook them. Vegetables cook so quickly. Cucumber, chop it up, have some hummus. You're done. If you do not have the snacks in your house, you can't eat them. They're not there to eat. You've got to find alternatives. You've even got to rethink to yourself, am I bored? Am I thirsty? Am I hungry? If you're hungry, eat. But if you are a mindless snacker like I am, because I am, genuinely, my boyfriend said that I can snack really well. He's not a snacker. He's like, he looks at the time and goes, okay, 2 hours until I need to eat again. That's what it's like dating an athlete. It's not fun. All he does is eat, sleep, repeat. But I snack. The week before my period, if it's chocolate, crisps, anything, I will eat it really, really intermittently throughout the day. Think about why you're snacking. As well, I'm an emotional eater. I'll say it right there. I get sad, I think, where's the Bourneville? Where's a cake? I'm gonna bake. I bake when I'm sad. So the people at my last workplace knew this as well. So every time I brought in baked goods, they'd be like, oh God. But usually I'd be over it. I just have to get rid of the baked goods somehow. So that's a very long-winded way of saying, if you don't want to eat crap, do not buy the crap. Feel free to say no to going out to places where you feel like you might overindulge. And if you do, that is fine. It's a part of life. Just make sure to not beat yourself up and hop back on track. I think that's tip 5, is just be good to yourself. Do this because you love yourself. I had to deal with all my negative mental health crap before I could lose the weight. Genuinely, I had to fight through the anxiety, the shock of a late diagnosis of my physical trauma. I was in agony for years and I had to go through all of that to come out the other side. I had to go to talking therapy, and then I started my mental health journey. Anyone who starts a weight loss journey in particular with a negative, keep an eye on your frame of mind, because you see it anywhere. I think Anna Archer Fitness is incredible for speaking up about her. So she lost a load of weight, looks incredible, but it kept going and it spiraled into an eating disorder. So you've always just got to be careful. So always check in with yourself, check in with your mental health throughout your physical journey, because that can be paramount to success. You want it to be sustainable, and any form of extremism, overeating, undereating, over-exercising, no movement at all, any extreme, fascism, communism, any extreme is, spot the girl with the politics degree, is bad. Everything needs a healthy middle. So find your sustainable, healthy middle. True, you need to be in calorie deficit to lose weight, fat loss. You need to be in a that's just the science. There's nothing you can do about that. And so you might have to eat a little bit less and move a little bit more. Just be good to yourself. You are doing this for you and you alone. It's not about looking good for someone else. It's about feeling good. And that's when I realized that I wanted to get fit, because I used to pant running for the bus. I would feel weak after a couple of hours on my feet. I looked in the mirror and I just did not feel like me. And what I wanted desperately was to feel good again about myself. Sure, it was from an aesthetic point of view too, but it was also for me a pain management thing, because if I get too heavy, there's too much pressure on my hips, and believe me, that hurts. So I just wanted to feel confident. I wanted to feel strong. I wanted to feel like the girl that I couldn't be growing up because I was, on crutches. Whenever I feel like I want to, lose a bit more weight because my legs are quite chunky for how short I am, or I think, oh God, I just want to lie down. I think to myself, no, you fought so hard to build up all that beautiful strength and beautiful muscle. You deserve to have it. Sure, I have bad days all the time. We all do. We live in my job is to post things about myself online. And unfortunately, as many people have pointed out to me, I should expect criticism and hate. Whilst I do expect it, and it is a part of it, doesn't mean it should be. Put that out there. It's gotten to a point now where I know I'm beautiful for me. I can squat more than I've ever squatted in my life. I can do push-ups. I'm working on pull-ups. I love the fact that I am strong now. It's just a life-changing thing. Being able to run for the bus and not be out of breath. Being able to walk to the supermarket and back with all my heavy shopping bags. Once I was so weak, this was in first year. I remember really vividly outside, because I used to live in Oak House in Manchester, big up Beach Court, if anyone else still lives there, unless they've torn it down. I was walking back from the Sainsbury's and there was a bit of a pothole and my leg was so weak that I didn't lift my leg high enough and I caught my foot and I stacked it in the road, and this car stopped. She didn't even get out to help me. Bless her, this poor guy who was walking along, he came to run and pick me up. I didn't cry then, but I got home, put my food away, walked up to my room and just sobbed. Because I felt helpless in that moment and I never wanted to feel that way again. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. I just never wanted to feel like I couldn't do something because of something I had. And I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I can be fit, I can do this. I've been through all this physical crap and I can do what I want to do. It's not life limiting. I've given you kind of 5 big top tips for exercising. I think I'll just kind of run through some other things. So if you are nervous about going to the gym, find classes. I'm quite fortunate in that the gym I go to is a class-based gym, so all I do is gym classes. Find classes, try different things, because one sport might not be for you, as I mentioned earlier. My advice to girls is do not let guys in your gym, or actually no, advice to everyone, it just happens, I'm speaking from my experience as a girl. Anyone who feels unwelcome in a gym, remember, the majority of the people in there who intimidate you are so focused on themselves that you're not even in their frame of reference. They are so focused on that pump, on that selfie, on that noise that they're making, that they're not even thinking about you. Do not stress, you'll be fine. And then little things to avoid doing is, if you have a bad day, don't let that stop you. You have one bad day, journal about it, scream into a pillow about it, then you move on. It's done. Before you know it, you'll pull on a pair of jeans and you'll think, oh my God, why are these too loose? Or, oh my God, my thighs are so good and like juicy now. Look at, like, it will happen. It will be small, but you've just got to give yourself the time. You don't expect a work of art to be done overnight. You don't expect, you know, proper, amazing pulled pork to take 20 minutes. That pulled pork has been smoking for hours. Be the pulled pork. You can do this, you've got this. You just have to remember why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, and why you're doing it. You're doing it because you love yourself. And who are you doing it for? Yourself. Annie out. No, that was embarrassing. No, hopefully that wasn't too rambly and I got the majority of my point across, because this is something that I'm hugely passionate about. I am doing a PT course. I do want to help others change their lives and feel better about themselves. So if you have any questions at all, drop them down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And hopefully see you in the next one. Bye guys.